What's up, guys? So, about 2 weeks ago, Coach Prime and Syracuse Fran Brown both were all for the idea of doing a joint practice. For those who missed it, Coach Prime mentioned it on television after he announced the pro day that there will be a spring game, and he loved the idea of having joint practices. Fran Brown immediately saw it and took to Twitter and said, "I'm all for it." Mike Gundy of Oklahoma State at one point thought about the idea of doing a home and home series between him and Oklahoma, bringing back the Bedlam rivalry. We now fast forward to last Friday. The NCAA has now since denied that request, and I'm upset with it, but I'm okay with it for now. And there's a bunch of reasons why. So I want to first let you guys hear what Fran Brown had to say when he was told that it was denied, and then we'll dive into my thoughts.
But I think that they were headed in the right direction, right? And they had all the right reasons. It wouldn't have gave everybody the same opportunity, right? It would have been a little advantage because, and it wasn't about us being able to practice because us practicing together would have only limited the amount of people on the field. It would have been 11 on the field now instead of, well, we goes two spots, so it's 44. So now instead of that, it would have been 11 going at a time, right? The financial literacy stuff that me and Coach Prime was talking about being able to do would have been something that these kids would have been take with them for a long time. This spring ball thing, everyone's trying to like fade away from it. They don't want everyone to see it. So we're trying to bring some light to it to say like, hey, this is a huge event, right? This would have been a huge fight like going on. You'd have been able to see us play them on April the 18th, the day before Easter in Colorado. Like, that thing would have sold out, right?
So, as you heard from Fran Brown, he pointed out the idea of giving the kids financial literacy, putting the kids in a classroom, and then having a sort of 7-on-7 or even spring game where, with his own guys, he splits the field in half to where it's 44 guys, 22 on one side, 22 on the other, which does limit injury. But then he also cited so many other things. But it's not a bad idea, right? We've heard about so many other teams that wanted to participate. There were discussions of Penn State and Temple wanting to do it. You just heard me mention Mike Gundy with Oklahoma State. This is a step in the right direction, right? So the NCAA cited three factors on why they opposed of doing it, and they cited it was late in timing. Most teams have already planned out their practices, and in some cases, this would be a competitive advantage for Colorado and Syracuse, which is all fine and dandy. The reason why I'm okay with it is because with just those three reasons alone, it shows that within a year or two, we may open the doors to having these mini spring practice sessions becoming like the version of NFL preseason. And for those who don't know how NFL preseason looks, there's joint practices where before they play a preseason game, where teams will travel to another team's facility and they'll practice, and then they'll go have a preseason game essentially. That's pretty much what this model or what could happen. It's basically of how Fran Brown and Coach Prime have talked about it. Not only they want to get those kids in a classroom and build almost a core and build a family out of that, but also create healthy competition. And if you're the NCAA, or hell, even if you are these college programs, think of the money that you would make off of this. TVs would want to broadcast these games. Fans will show out for these games. And it's a win-win for the NIL programs altogether. That money will go to your collectives, although the house settlement is coming in. It will bolster some type of money to build for your program, and it works out. The fans get what they want, coaches get what they want, and players don't have to go up against each other all day, every day. Spring football is alive and well. And I know probably earlier in the thought process of all this, spring football was probably a thing that was slowly going to the past with a bunch of teams canceling. Matt Rule being one of the first to kind of cite he didn't want his players being scouted on. He didn't want players getting hurt. But this opens a whole new door of how we look at spring football going forward. And then on top of that, this is what people want. It's a win-win scenario. And before people say, well, that shouldn't happen, I want to dive into college basketball at one point where they have exhibition games before they kick off their regular season. And I'm not talking about those tournaments and the Maui Classics. They were literally at one point, you couldn't do this. And then the NCAA said, well, you can do it, but it has to be private and closed off. Okay, well, they did it. Then they said, well, you can open it up, but only if it's a fundraiser. And now it seems like it's a wide open thing. And I have vivid knowledge of one of those preseason games being on the aircraft carriers, and which was called the Carrier Classics. So this is slowly but surely will help college football bring in some revenue in terms of the NIL side of things, but also it gives the fans who can't always afford to go to those games a type of game like environment or game like experience that will open everything up. In my other video that I made that I posted on my social media, I talked about the idea of doing it with smaller local schools, local FCS and Division 1 schools, maybe Group of 5, because in the only other rank that it's allowed is in Division 2, where you can scrimmage against another school. So if this opens up to this opportunity, we don't know what we could see and how it could help everything going forward. In my other video, I'll put it down in the description. You can hear my original thoughts about it. But now this sounds like something that may have just opened the door to what could help college football spring games for the future. You guys let me know your thoughts. As always, like, share, and subscribe to my page. I'm on the road to 50 subscribers right now. So I greatly appreciate it. Share this with your friends and leave a like and a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do you guys want to see spring football games become more like the NFL, as almost like a quasi preseason game? Or do you want to just keep it or see it the way it is, where no one goes up against anybody?